Shout out to our sponsor, Sherry's Berries.
Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and who wouldn't love something sweet? Thanks to Sherry's Berries, you can send your loved ones or yourself, because you deserve it, some freshly dipped strawberries for just $19.99.
Or you can double the berries for just $10 more. Just visit berries.com, click the microphone in the top right corner, use the offer code THEKNOW with a space. Welcome to Know, I'm John Reisinger.
And I'm Adam Ellis.
Ever since we got our first full look at Nintendo Switch last month, Nintendo's come under a lot of scrutiny for their new console's launch titles, or lack thereof, some might say.
And now we've got a new report full of honest-to-God numbers, and well, the haters might have been right. Ooh. Because the Switch's launch lineup is the smallest lineup on a console in over 2 decades.
Plus, we've got some troubling comments about EA's FIFA Switch port.
Don't care.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do. I don't either,
personally,
but a lot of people do. Which the report would lead some to believe that the system isn't as easy to port games as Nintendo claims it is.
It wouldn't be a Nintendo system without third-party problems. But first, the new report, which comes from a media site, finder.com.au. They've actually been doing quite a few by-the-numbers reports lately, including an analysis of the current console generation sales numbers, as well as a deep dive into Metacritic scores over the last 20 years.
Their newest report is all about the size of console launch lineups, along with a breakdown of the makeup of these launch games, how much of the lineup is supported with first-party titles, third-party titles, etc.
It spans back 23 years, looking at every major console launch for systems like the original PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and the Dreamcast, even handhelds like the DS and the Game Boy Advanced.
What did their study find? Not only is the Switch the smallest launch lineup of any major console in the last 21 years, it's also got the fewest amount of exclusives at launch in 21 years. Both of those honors were previously held by another Nintendo console, the N64.
But if you care about Zelda, it's launching with Zelda, which is pretty great. And since the Switch is...
Zelda counts as 5 titles.
It really does. And since the Switch is a special case and can technically be considered a handheld, they compared it to those platforms as well. And it's even the weakest handheld launch since the Nintendo DS in 2004, but that system did well. It's not, although to be fair, it's not like they've gotten that many handheld launches since then. That space totally belongs to Nintendo.
Let's break down those numbers just a little bit more without Adam's bump. That smallest launch lineup in 21 years stat is based on Switch's launch titles, which at the moment sits at 10 total, unless you count Zelda as 5. Finder breaks it down into 2 Switch exclusives, 3 brand new games, 4 third-party, 4 indie, 5 retail, 5 downloadable, and 7 previously released games.
The most notable number there is that there are only 3 brand new games on the system at all at launch. Finder also states that this 10-game lineup is considerably smaller than the average console launch, which in the modern era sits around 17 games, with 9 exclusives for each system.
9's more than 3.
I mean, Zelda's not even an exclusive, to be fair. Like, playing on the Wii U.
What side are you on?
I like everything. I just want to be fair.
So, yeah, Nintendo is pretty far off the mark in both categories here. However, it should be noted that having more titles and more exclusives doesn't necessarily spell success either. The Dreamcast launched with 19 games, 17 of them exclusive, and the Wii U launched with 34 games total, and we all know what happened there.
The next smallest launch lineup in the last 2 decades, besides the Switch, belonged to another, surprise, surprise, another Nintendo system, the GameCube. That system was fucking awesome, though, which debuted with 12 titles.
So, one thing this list doesn't include, other than Adam's opinion, is the 16-bit systems like the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, which could be some important context. However, those systems really did work on a much different timeline and software release schedule than what we're used to now, which is probably why they were left out. Really, that era sort of created the modern release cadence we enjoy today, but it took them a while to nail it down.
This study will definitely give some ammunition to the Nintendo haters out there who have been claiming its launch lineup isn't up to snuff so far. For Nintendo's part, they've claimed that this is by design because they want to drip feed the system with regular releases throughout its first year. It's not a bad strategy considering Nintendo's most recent outing with the Wii U. It's understandable that people are skeptical.
Yeah, one of the biggest points of skepticism has to do with Nintendo's ability to support the new console with third-party games. And so far, that's looked a bit spotty. We've had some notable developers making promises of support, like Ubisoft and Bethesda and From Software, for instance.
But just as many have said they won't be bringing their games to the system. In fact, one Respawn developer laughed and said, "Fuck no," when asked if Titanfall 2 would make its way to the Switch.
But what were they really saying? Let's really delve into those 2 words. So that brings us to some new comments made about Switch by Electronic Arts. At Nintendo's conference in January, EA announced that they'd be bringing FIFA to the Switch later this year, but didn't offer any additional details about the game at the time. They didn't even show footage.
Well, we've finally gotten a couple more details about FIFA from EA executive Peter Moore, who spoke to Game Reactor at a FIFA event in Paris this week. When asked if FIFA 18 would be a slimmed-down version of the game compared to the other more powerful consoles, Moore simply said, "We're custom building a FIFA version for the Nintendo Switch."
Seems a bit of a sidestep of a comment.
Oh, well.
Yeah, we kind of improvised that one. Moore was asked again about the idea of the game being dumbed down for Switch, and he repeated, "What you have will be a custom-built version for the Nintendo Switch from the FIFA development team in Vancouver."
You can attach the Joy-Cons to your feet and kick the soccer ball that way. In this case, custom built sounds like marketing speak for totally dumbed down, especially since Moore wouldn't really elaborate on what custom built means. And since this is a soccer game, it's already bringing back memories of Konami's Pro Evolution Soccer, which receives generally pretty shoddy PC ports as an afterthought.
It also calls into question if Switch games are as easy to port as Nintendo claims. If EA is having to build FIFA 18 from scratch for Switch, could it really be all that easy?
However, Nintendo has made some other comments this week still pumping up about how the Switch is going to have that third-party support. Part of that has to do with a focus on providing developers with tools that will work for them, whereas in the past, Nintendo has mostly focused on giving itself the development tools they needed for better first-party development.
In their recent financial briefing, Nintendo executive Shinya Takahashi insisted that, quote, "Since the start of the Nintendo Switch development, we have been aiming to realize an environment in which a variety of different third-party developers are able to easily develop compatible software."
Miyamoto added on to that, stating that they believe it would only take a year to port PC games to the Switch thanks to these tools. Plus, he emphasized that Nintendo developers themselves have finally caught up with the West and have focused on mastering Western development tools like Unreal Engine, which means we might even see first-party Nintendo games made in Unreal, which is super fucking weird.
That would be weird, but I would like it.
Also, how would the Switch run an Unreal Engine game? But I guess we'll find out.
But, of course, all of these faraway promises don't really mean a whole lot for the immediate future. Time will only tell if Nintendo's launch lineup and early success is enough to convince more developers to keep giving their time to the new system.
What do you guys think of the Nintendo's launch lineup being the smallest in 21 years, plus comments about third-party support? Let us know in the comments below.
For future updates on everything Switch and Adam's general opinion on Nintendo, like this video and subscribe to The Now. Thanks to Sherry's Berries for sponsoring this update.
Valentine's Day is coming faster than you think, so don't put off that shopping.
Think your loved ones would love some freshly dipped strawberries?
We do, because we fight over them all the time.
Yep.
You can send anybody a batch for just $19.99 or double it for only $10 more. Go to berries.com, click the microphone in the top right corner, and enter the code THEKNOW with a space.